Hello. Amazing film. I just wanted to ask, we noticed the story of the penguins in terms of they knew instinctively how to find a mate. They recognized the call of the mate. They knew how to look after the chick. They knew how to feed. I understand that that's some form of programming. Do you believe that there's a programmer behind the whole sequence? Where did they learn this?
Well, yes, where do the penguins learn the instinctive things of bringing up a chick in a certain way and other things?
Who can say? They don't learn it, as far as one can see from watching other penguins. It is an instinctive thing, and you can prove that, in fact, of course, by zoo penguins. I mean, up in Edinburgh have a very good reputation for breeding, a good record for breeding penguins in captivity. The captive penguins know what to do to look after their chicks in as much as they can in those circumstances. The ability of a penguin an adult penguin to recognize the call of its mate in a chorus of 10,000 others, all of which sound identical. The voices, the trumpeting of the penguin sounds identical to your ears, or certainly does to my ears. And how a returning penguin can pick out from 1,000 others the one that is their particular mate is almost unbelievable. And in fact, you might wonder whether it's really true. And it has proved to be true by tagging. So the research workers who've worked with penguins tag both partners, and they can see that it is exactly as shown that the returning partner recognizes the call and makes its way all through the rest of the ranks of the other penguins. Indeed, while other chicks are begging it for food, it will go until it finds its true partner. It's an extraordinary phenomenon. All you can say is that they are able to distinguish qualities in that trumpeting call which we simply can't hear. We certainly can't recognize.
Down here, please.
Do you know how many years penguins live for?
How many years penguins live for?
Oh yes, they vary. It's a general rule that by and large small animals live shorter lives than big animals. And that's true in the case of penguins. The little fairy penguins and little small adelies have a relatively short life. The bigger penguins have a longer life. And I'm speaking from memory, but I think the life expectancy of a king penguin, is around a decade.
Yes, in the front here, please.
Hello. Firstly, very immensely, truly enriching experience watching this movie. I just wanted to ask, is there any traces of evidence of evolution which has happened here? Maybe things which the penguins do differently, what they used to do 500 years or several years before, maybe particularly in the Georgian territory, which you can show? Any evidence of evolution which has happened?
Oh yes. It's perfectly clear that penguins are birds when you come to examine them, because their feathers are true feathers. They're downy feathers, but they are nonetheless feathers.
Yeah.
And the anatomy is basically a seabird or a water bird's anatomy. And in fact, we've now been finding fossils of early penguins that almost certainly had flight to a small degree. And of course there's a parallel between what happened in the south and what happened in the north. In the north you have diving seabirds, including guillemots, which are very poor flyers, and it doesn't take much imagination to see that they are primarily adapted to swimming underwater, as it were, and that their feathered wings are really that close to being flippers. Why didn't they go that way? Well, of course, they actually did to some degree in the great auk. The great auk was, in fact, which stood about that high, was like a guillemot, but it was unable to fly. And that was one of the reasons why there's no great auks today, because people in the north, Scotland, as well as all around the Arctic, simply clobbered them and exterminated them in the 19th century. They were surviving. They had survived on small islands where bears and wolves and so on, and other animals from the northern hemisphere couldn't reach them, but human beings could, and so human beings did for them. But in the south has been for tens of millions of years separated from the rest of the world. So there are no land predators on the Antarctic continent, except of course man. And so it was perfectly safe, therefore, for the penguins that were swimming through the oceans of the world to become so specialized at swimming that they turned their flippers, their wings into flippers that wouldn't sustain them in flight. That was no disadvantage when they came ashore on the Antarctic continent, because there were no predators there until we came. And that is why there are penguins in the south and no penguins in the north.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
more questions here. Over here, sort of in the back of this first section.
Where's the most special place that you say you'd ever been, like the most unusual, diverse place on Earth?
I think the most diverse and unusual place you've been on Earth.
The most diverse and unusual place. Well, the most diverse place on Earth are the great tropical rainforests. There are more different forms of life in the tropical rainforest than anywhere else. And that's because the conditions for life in the rainforest, there's plenty of warmth, there's plenty of moisture, there's plenty of green food, and so there's plenty of things that feed on the plants, and therefore plenty of predators which feed on the plant eaters. So there's much more diversity in the tropical rainforest than there is in any other environment.
Okay, I think we've got maybe one more question, maybe two. Over here, the lady down here, please. Not in one at the back, are you? So, last question on that.
Thank you. My daughter would like to know, she's 8, whether the orca whale actually did kill the penguin. And given that there were many penguins used in the making of this film, was that actually the mother of that baby penguin that we saw? Because at that point she did start crying, and I apologise to everyone who heard her. So if there's any words of comfort you can offer, and also generally about filming in the natural world, what do you say to children about that?
Well, it is absolutely true that orcas kill a great number of penguins. And as you will see, you did not see a killing there. And certainly there will be a lot of penguins that fail to return to the breeding grounds, and we just simply don't know how they died. Predation may well be one of the reasons. So it was that you didn't see any images of that killing, and it was left to the sight of a little feather floating down in the water for you to use or imagination and decide what you think might have happened to that adult penguin.
Gosh, we can go on all night, but I'm sure a lot more questions. But anyway, David, very, very briefly, our next project, Galapagos 3D, comes out in the new year on Sky 3D, and on the main channel as well, Sky 1. You excited about that?
Yes. You were asking earlier on why we picked South Georgia and penguins, and I explained that because of the size of the cameras. So okay, we've done one on fossils, and we did one on penguins. We've also done some on flowers and insects. Why did we go to the Galapagos? The answer is that the Galapagos has even more species on it than South Georgia has. I mean, it has a huge variety of different birds and reptiles and plants. There are giant tortoises, there are marine iguanas, there are land iguanas, there are albatross, and penguins. so that you've got a great range of characters in the Galapagos Island, all of which are, to a remarkable degree, fearless, have no fear of mankind. And that's because mankind didn't really discover the Galapagos until the 17th century. And even then, very few people visited it. And still, the animals now have no fear of human beings. If you go there at the right season of the year, when the mockingbirds are nesting, the mockingbirds will land on your head and pull your hair out because they want to line their nests with you. And of course, tortoises don't care tuppence for anybody anyway. They just lumber about. So the Galapagos was an ideal place for our next project. And there are 3 programs which we're finishing right now, in which we show how the Galapagos was populated, how the animals changed in the way they did change, and what is going to happen to them over the period of time. So it is a series which I'm thrilled about, actually, because it has such a great variety of animals to see. And we may say, we actually, this film, I'm not sure that I'm allowed to say this, but let it leak out. We actually filmed a species, I won't say what species.
That's not what it is, David.
What?
That's not what it is.
Can I say what?
No.
No, I can't. I'm not going to tell you. But there is something that has never been filmed before, and its photographs haven't even been published yet, but it is a new species.
Very exciting. Thank you to everybody here and across Britain who have come out tonight to watch the film. I want to say a big thank you to Sky 3D, because without them this would absolutely not have been possible, and their ongoing support for David and my projects. I also want to thank everyone at Atlantic Productions and the huge production team that were responsible for this, including our facilities house on site, who helped us develop a lot of the equipment. A massive team who are very highly skilled. I also want to thank Kaleidoscope for distributing this film theatrically. I just also have to say how incredibly privileged I feel, and the team that work on these films with David. There is no one who has more passion and skill as a storyteller. He is without question one of the greatest filmmakers and storytellers of his time. It's a great honour to work with him, and thank you, David, for doing this film and for talking to us here tonight. Thank you very much.